You are. Welcome back to the most disturbing videos on the internet today. For context, don't believe everything you hear or see on this video. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, hype your boy up, and you definitely don't want to miss the end of this video.
How could I not talk about giants of South America and leave out the work of Gladys Cordova? Gladys has hundreds of videos that she filmed on a mountain in Peru. They're in the 12 to 15 foot range. All throughout history, we have bones that have been discovered and then ushered away, hidden from the public, denied existence. We have photos, of course, of people that fit this bill, and just the way that this guy moved tells me that these people are still persecuted. But the way that he's dressed is not something primitive. This shows a people with a culture, and I think these people have a type of cloaking technology. And this man's cloaking technology is not functioning. It flickers in and out. But he has comrades around here whose technology is working perfectly. And you can just see little strobes of light. You can even see him talking to a little strobe of light here on this ledge that looks like an old road. And Gladys even sees it. She's circled it for us. And you can see it gets brighter as he approaches, brighter. And if you watch this whole video clip, you can even see him kneeling down and talking to one. Here you can see dirt that he's kicked up. Really amazing footage. Here he's past another small light, and he's like picking his nose right there, scratching his face. And here he'll have a little discussion right here. He passes one of these orbs and stops to talk to it, really hunching down and having a chat. Seems like there's a lot to discuss. And again, an overall air of concern with the man that we can see. He says, okay, he's a little concerned, and he moves on. And in kind of a hurry, not a leisurely stroll. And we could see that at the end here, how apprehensive he is to go around this corner. He carefully looks over, carefully looking over. And this is just excellent, excellent footage. Again, this man is at a minimum 15 feet tall. And Gladys does comparisons.
In 15 feet tall using cloaking technology? Interesting.
What happened? What happened? Is this by accident or on purpose? Because this don't make no sense. So wait, let me see if I got this straight. You're trying to tell me that in every major city there was a great, and every time there was a great, your best buildings get down. Oh, you son of a... Now if your city or town comes up on this list, brother, you're smoked. You have been smoked. You're burnt like toast. Now look at this. Michigan, fried, Copenhagen, cooked, Russian Empire, smoked. It just goes, look, New York. Come on, brother. Listen, if your city comes up on this list, it means you've been reset. One fire, wow. Look, New York again, brother. New York's been battered. Great Fire of Pittsburgh, brother. This can't be a coincidence. How come this keeps happening? There's no half baking going on here. These men are being fully baked, fully smoked. Okay? Zapped. This is reset territory. And you have to understand, people, every time there's these fires, it's always the greatest buildings that get destroyed. You think that's an accident? Come on, brother. You've got to do the maths and the science. It's simple. So yeah, I'm going to be doing more and covering this in depth. Because when I say I got their ass,
You definitely gotta ask yourself, every single time one of these events happens, why is it the greatest buildings in that city that it happens to take place on?
Do you understand?
I speak your language.
Well, good. Senator Crane has come here to offer your people a better way of life.
Better than what?
Better than what you have.
I like what I have.
I understand that. Your people live in the Stone Age. We live at the beginning of a great industrial revolution.
The United States government is offering you a piece of land of your own.
We have our own land.
No, it's not yours. It's the U.S. government's.
Did they buy it?
No.
Did they trade for it?
It's not like that.
Then how can they own it?
If you accept our offer, you can depend on your country to take care of you.
You are not my country.
We will give you everything you need if you will just submit to living on a reservation.
We need nothing from you.
Do you understand?
Yes, we understand.
Weird predictive programming patterns if you're paying attention. Lies on the news, truth hidden in fiction. Movies as spiritual, esoteric expressions. Check out the insane amount of effort that has gone into this ritual programming with these patterns I'm about to show you. The more and more I go down the conspiracy rabbit hole, I see mind control is really the one that keeps getting deeper, and eventually with the mark of the beast, which the whole world will be under that mind control. But it started with MK Ultra Project Monarch, the symbol being the butterfly. This particular mind control is all about trauma-based mind control, which you can see that they're doing on a mass level. Think about all the times they keep showing you images you don't want to see, or very traumatic images, even with this past week. This is literally what they do, is trauma altar-based mind control. The butterfly is the mind control monarch symbol here with Jason Bourne. He's just spaced out, wondering who he is, staring at this butterfly picture. In the Matrix, when Neo's handler is just gaslighting him out of control about what's real and what's not. Check out the background, that butterfly right there. In the original Total Recall movie about planting false memories, you see the butterfly logo right here. Also in the movie Kingsman, which is also sort of about mind control, the CIA, an alternate identity, having to shift back and forth between alters in your mind about who you are. During this major reveal in the background, there's the butterflies right there. This is all part of a fragmented alternate identity, ties in with different dimensions, alternate timelines, multiverse. It's all about fragmenting identity. It's been a mass psyop that's been at work for a minute. Kingsman, and speaking of kings, there is this King Kong movie, which has Project Monarch. By the way, the word monarch, aside from butterfly, literally means king. Kingsman, King Kong, Project Monarch. Also, by the way, they put stuff like this in movies, so if you look up Project Monarch, you'll probably find a King Kong movie. Not the actual project, you'll have to search a little bit farther for it. But also with this mind control, King Kong Project Monarch is about Skull Island. Mind control, Skull Island. Taking over the mind. This pattern goes way deeper also with the Katy Perry space thing that you can decide if it's real or not. She, for some reason, decided she wanted to show you a butterfly. This is all Alice in Wonderland programming. Again, Alice in Wonderland, you'll see the butterfly. This is all literal trauma-based mind control alters with even trigger words, handlers, activating identities, being targeted to specific people, but also being done on a mass level to the entire public. Anyway, the whole world already under a they live style illusion. You can check out the Grand Illusion on my YouTube page for more about that. But one more and then I'm out. Project Butterfly in Peacemaker. Again, you see this butterfly with a literal super soldier who has trauma-based mind control into different identities. And even in this season, he's having to choose which dimension and which identity he wants to be. This predictive programming pattern will keep playing out, and you'll keep seeing more and more about dissociative identities. Basically, bipolar, schizophrenic, anything like that, demon manifestation. It's all about to pop off majorly. This is all tied to literal Manchurian Candidate type stuff, and when you look at things that have happened in the world, it kind of does make you wonder about Manchurian Candidates, sleepers being activated, alters in the mind, guard your own mind, the helmet of salvation. By the way, the guy on the train in Charlotte with that horrible act, he did say that he had something inside of his body that activated. Whether true or not, it definitely does exist in the real world. Also weird how Charlie Kirk and George Floyd both have the same birthdays also. They do say things are done by the numbers. Central casting, life is a stage. The Bible does basically say if it were possible, even the elect would be mind controlled in the last times, but it's not possible. Remember, there is hope in the madness. Yeshua the King. Peace out.
Alright, you see these overhead doors right here up the whole thing? It would have ran to another structure that was right here, just like this one. See how the overhead doors run into it? They took them out and closed them. This was a port down here. It looks like I'm in Europe right now. You didn't know where I was at, you think I'm in Europe. How much of this did they rip out and put brick in? Look at it. Go all the way up the top. They installed the brick around the window. This is an old world building. They added the brick at the top and pulled it out to make windows. There's the old cobblestone roads right on the waterfront. Watch me find a dock cleat down here. Bang, gotcha, dock cleat. All day.
Damn, that is the thing they use to tie around boats to keep them on water. What is going on?
They said this wasn't for boats. Who's tying your horse up here? Whole dock cleat. Alright.
Do you think this is a weird scene? This is from Lord of the Rings Return of the King, and it's that scene where the deranged king is having dinner and he asks the hobbit Pippin, he says, "Sing me a song." Like, when you saw that, did you think that this was a sign that the king had gone nuts? Because the hobbit is not there in any kind of a performance role. He's just a guy. Like, if you're at a friend's house having dinner and their parents said to you, "Sing us a song," you would 100% think they were joking. And others of you who have read the book say, well, that's just a Tolkien thing. The characters break into song all the time. But then you will watch a movie that's supposed to take place in our world in the not too distant past, a film that is not a musical, and the characters at a get-together will all just start singing. Because this absolutely used to be a thing. People who had pianos in their houses, it wasn't because they had a musician in the family. It's because during get-togethers, they would all gather around the piano and sing songs. I mean, there may be people watching this video who grew up in a household where they used to do this. But this used to be nearly universal before radio and TV came along. A political cartoon about this went around from 1938, where the artist is complaining they used to be vocal. We are now content to be aural. Where in the past they all gathered around the piano to sing, and now they're content to let a professional sing to them from the radio. And this is such a pivotal change, because some of you are thinking, well, it's weird that they were all good at singing back then, but they weren't. It didn't matter. They were not gathering to witness an awe-inspiring performance by a talented genius. They were participating in a group activity. This creator had a great video about this that I saw just days after that cartoon, pointing out that until very recent history, singing was not just reserved for people that had some kind of an exceptional talent, or for something like karaoke where the point is that it's supposed to be funny how bad you are at it. The singing was for everybody, and humans are kind of hardwired to enjoy the experience of doing it. But think about how crazy it is the way this parallels the experience we've seen on social media, where it was invented just so you could connect with your family and friends. If they posted a photo of their lunch or of their dog, you wouldn't sit there and say, wow, what a boring photo. This doesn't entertain me. Because it wasn't supposed to be a performance. It's supposed to be just a communal activity. But once it becomes the domain of professional entertainers or people who are just exceptionally talented, then everybody else gets shamed out of participating. Where it's like, well, why should I subject other people to my singing if I can't sing as well as the professional on the radio? When once upon a time they enjoyed the singing not because it sounded good, but because it was coming from you, from their friends, from their family. Because we don't exist just to entertain each other. Do you think this is a weird scene? This is from...
Not to mention the different vibrations you're probably feeling within that household. Who knows what that does to the body? Everybody singing, having a great time. Man. I can't even think of a time that, I really don't have friends anyway, but I can't think of a time where we all got together and was just singing, besides being in a club, repeating some terrible music. That's the only time I could remember a group of people singing besides church, or when someone's getting baptized, we'll sing a song. I remember that back in the day, but it definitely makes you think. Times have changed, for the better or for the worse.
Do not ever let your plants listen to rap music. Wait until you hear this. You're going to say, what the Sam Dam's going on? It's shocking. Okay, so this all started with birds. Basically, as it turns out, when a bird chirps, the frequency and vibration of their chirps, you know how they chirp an hour or two before sunrise? Their chirps are an alarm clock. The frequencies wake up plants and tell them to get ready for photosynthesis. This is called sonic bloom. So then some people got a crazy idea and thought, well, what about if we continually exposed plants to frequencies from music? What will happen? Well, this guy in 1960s exposed balsam plants to classical music and found that their growth rate increased by 20% compared to a control group, along with a 72% increase in biomass. Then he exposed them to ancient Indian classical music, and it increased their yield 25 to 60% more than the national average. This is because the frequencies stimulate the transportation of nutrients, proteins, and organelles in the fluids of the plants, in the cytoplasm. And by the way, yes, birds chirping wakes up plants, helps them grow. It's insane. But listen, they did a study in Australia, and basically the plants, obviously they don't have ears. They have a part of their body, of their plant body, that captures sound vibrations. It's a different way of hearing, but it can definitely be considered hearing. But here's what's crazy. They don't like all music. The favorable music genres include classical, jazz, meditation, singing bowls, violins, and symphonic orchestras. They do not like metal, hard rock, hip hop, techno, or high-pitched singing. We know talking to plants is good, but you could also pop a radio in there, put on a classical music station, and boost your yield. Follow for more. Do not ever let your plants...
But I have heard talking to your plants actually helps them. I don't know who's going to bang Tupac, in front of some plants, but actually talking to them might actually help. I don't know if it's the CO2 output or what. If you thought I didn't have another excellent specimen for you today, think again. All right, feast your eyes on this one. This is definitely a weird one, a weird, strange specimen. Probably the weirdest and strange specimen we've seen in a while, but it definitely has some unique properties. It looks like a purple Reese's, like a blue Reese's cup with like some type of alien mushroom protruding from it. Almost giving clam vibes, but you can definitely see the ridges at the bottom that allude to like a Reese cup. If I had to name this specimen, I want to hear your guys' names on these. You guys come up with some better names than me, honestly. But if I had to name this one, I would call this Alien Reese Cup.
Jung's most dangerous discovery wasn't about healing from trauma. It was about the final stage of the empath after narcissistic abuse, and why this transformation either destroys them completely or creates something psychologically unprecedented. In his clinical practice, Jung documented empaths who had survived systematic narcissistic manipulation and reached what he called the final stage of empathic development.
What is an empath? Let's type that in real quick. What is a empath? An empath is a person who is exceptionally sensitive and has profound ability to sense, absorb, and even physically feel the emotions, energy, and physical sensations of others, sometimes to a degree that's... Damn. I believe I'm definitely an empath. 100%. Okay, let's finish this. This is getting interesting.
Individuals who had undergone complete psychological metamorphosis. These weren't typical recovery stories, but cases where empaths emerged with what Jung termed integrated shadow consciousness and immunity to all forms of manipulation. Jung called this discovery dangerous because empaths who reached this final stage often became unrecognizable to those who knew them before. They had developed what he described as sovereign empathy, the ability to feel deeply while remaining psychologically untouchable, creating a level of consciousness Jung had rarely encountered. Today, I'll reveal Jung's most dangerous discovery about the final stage of the empath after narcissistic abuse, and why he believed this devastating experience either annihilates empathic sensitivity forever or transforms it into what he called the archetypal wounded healer, a form of consciousness that transcends both victim and survivor. The case that revealed this phenomenon began in 1928 with a patient Jung described in his private notes only as M, a 34-year-old woman whose empathic gifts had attracted a series of increasingly destructive narcissistic partners. When she first came to Jung, she was what he called psychically dissolved, her sense of self so completely eroded that she could barely distinguish her emotions from those around her. But Jung documented something extraordinary over the following 2 years. M didn't simply recover. She underwent what Jung described as alchemical transformation through shadow integration. Where once she had been permeable to every emotional current, she developed what Jung called conscious permeability, the ability to choose exactly what to absorb and what to deflect. Jung wrote in his notes, "M has achieved something I previously thought impossible, complete empathic sovereignty. She can feel the depths of another's pain without drowning in it. She can detect deception with supernatural accuracy. Most remarkably, she has become immune to manipulation while retaining her capacity for genuine compassion." The transformation was so complete that Jung questioned whether M was still the same person. Her family noticed the change immediately. Jung's most dangerous discovery wasn't about healing.
Damn, where's the full video? Alright guys, it took a little bit of digging, but I found it.
Transformation was so complete that Jung questioned whether M was still the same person. Her family noticed the change immediately. Where once she had been the family's emotional caretaker, she now set boundaries that seemed unbreakable. Former friends accused her of becoming cold or different, but Jung recognized something profound. M had reached the final stage of empathic development that he had only theorized was possible. Jung observed that M's eyes had changed. "They hold depths I've never seen," he wrote, "as if she has gazed into the abyss of human nature and emerged not broken, but wise." Jung realized that narcissistic abuse creates what he termed the empathic crucible, a psychological pressure cooker that either destroys empathic entirely or forges it into something far more refined and powerful. The key lies in understanding what Jung called shadow integration through forced individuation. During narcissistic abuse, the empath is systematically forced to confront their own shadow, the parts of themselves they've disowned or rejected. The narcissist, Jung observed, acts as an unconscious shadow mirror, reflecting back the empath's own capacity for manipulation, selfishness, and emotional detachment. Jung documented that empaths typically go through what he called the 3 deaths during this process. First, the death of their idealized self-image as purely good and giving. Second, the death of their belief that love can heal anyone. Third, and most crucially, the death of their need for external validation to feel worthy. The empath must face their own shadow, Jung wrote, not through gentle introspection, but through brutal confrontation with their own capacity for darkness. The narcissist, unknowingly, becomes the catalyst for this essential psychological work. Jung identified that empaths who survive this crucible develop what he called integrated empathy, the ability to feel without fixing, to understand without taking responsibility, and to love without losing themselves. This isn't emotional numbness, but rather emotional mastery. The neurological changes Jung observed were profound. These empaths retained their sensitivity, but gained what he described as conscious filtering capacity. They could sense everything, but choose what to process. Jung noted this was similar to advanced meditation masters, but achieved through trauma rather than spiritual practice. Jung wrote, "The narcissist, in their unconscious role as shadow teacher, forces the empath to develop psychological muscles they never knew they possessed." The Trump discovered something that disturbed him deeply about empaths who reached this final stage. They often became isolated not by choice, but by necessity. The very transformation that made them psychologically powerful also made them fundamentally incompatible with unconscious people. Jung documented that these evolved empaths could no longer tolerate what he called psychological unconsciousness in others. They could instantly detect when someone was operating from ego, projection, or manipulation. This created what Jung termed the consciousness gap, an unbridgeable divide between those who had integrated their shadow and those who remained unconscious of it. Jung's patient described this phenomenon. "It's as if I can see the psychological machinery of everyone around me, their defenses, their projections, their hidden motivations. It's all transparent now. But this clarity has cost me almost every relationship I had." Jung realized this was the hidden danger of empathic evolution. These individuals had developed what he called archetypal sight.
It's lonely. Super lonely.
Ability to see past personas and into the deeper psychological patterns driving human behavior. While this made them incredibly powerful healers and guides, it also made ordinary social interaction nearly impossible. Jung wrote, "They have eaten from the tree of psychological knowledge, and like Adam and Eve, they can never return to the garden of unconscious innocence." The most disturbing aspect was that many people instinctively feared these evolved empaths. Jung noted that others could sense, even unconsciously, that these individuals could see through their psychological defenses. This created what Jung called the prophet's isolation, being rejected not for being wrong, but for seeing too clearly. Jung documented cases where families, friends, and even other therapists became uncomfortable around these individuals, sensing their piercing psychological insight without understanding what they were responding to. Through his extensive case studies, Jung identified 4 distinct pathways empaths take after narcissistic abuse, with only one leading to the final stage of development. Type 1. The dissolved empath. These empaths never recover their sense of self. Jung observed they become psychic ghosts, present but not truly alive. They've lost the ability to distinguish their emotions from others and live in a constant state of emotional chaos. Jung noted these empaths often develop what he called perpetual victim consciousness, repeatedly attracting similar abusive dynamics. The responsibility weight Jung documented that many sovereign empaths felt burdened by their abilities. They could see solutions to others' problems, but knew that unsolicited insight is rarely welcomed. This created what Jung called the Cassandra complex, having accurate psychological insights that others reject or cannot understand. The authenticity demand. Perhaps most challenging, Jung observed that these empaths could no longer tolerate inauthenticity in themselves or others. They had become what he called truth sensors, immediately detecting when someone was being false or manipulative. This made maintaining social relationships extremely difficult. Jung wrote, "They have achieved psychological mastery, but at the cost of normal human connection. They have become bridges between the conscious and unconscious realms, but bridges are walked upon, not embraced." The most dangerous aspect Jung identified was what he called archetypal possession. Some empaths became so identified with their role as healers or truth-tellers that they lost touch with their humanity. Jung developed what he called the shadow integration protocol, specifically for empaths recovering from narcissistic abuse. This wasn't traditional therapy, but what he described as psychological alchemy, transforming the lead of trauma into the gold of wisdom. Stage 1. Shadow acknowledgement. Jung
Damn, did you hear that? I need to write this down.
insisted empaths must first acknowledge their own capacity for manipulation, selfishness, and cruelty. "You cannot integrate what you refuse to own," he wrote. This involves recognizing how their empathic gifts may have been used to control others, how their victimhood may have been weaponized, and how their goodness may have been a mask for deeper psychological needs. Stage 2. Projection withdrawal. Jung taught empaths to systematically withdraw their projections from the narcissist. This means recognizing that the narcissist's grandiosity reflected their own disowned desire for recognition, that the narcissist's manipulation reflected their own subtle controlling behaviors, and that the narcissist's lack of empathy reflected their own hidden emotional numbness. Stage 3. Boundary alchemy. Rather than building walls, Jung taught what he called conscious permeability, the ability to choose moment by moment what to absorb and what to deflect. This involves developing what Jung termed empathic discernment, feeling without fixing, understanding without rescuing, and loving without losing oneself. Stage 4. Archetypal alignment. Jung believed the final stage involved aligning with what he called the wounded healer archetype, accepting that their suffering had prepared them for a specific role in the collective unconscious. This isn't about becoming a professional healer, but about embodying the integration of wisdom and compassion that Jung believed was essential for human evolution. Jung wrote specific practices for each stage, including what he called shadow dialoguing, consciously conversing with the parts of themselves they'd disowned, empathic fasting, deliberately choosing periods of emotional non-absorption, and archetypal meditation, connecting with the deeper patterns that govern human behavior. The key insight Jung emphasized was that empaths must stop trying to return to who they were before the abuse. The chrysalis cannot become a caterpillar again, he wrote. The goal is not recovery, but metamorphosis.
The chrysalis cannot become the caterpillar again. Man, this is blowing my mind.
Jung studied historical figures to understand what determined whether empathic individuals achieved sovereign consciousness or were destroyed by their sensitivity. His analysis revealed patterns that applied directly to modern narcissistic abuse recovery. Success pattern. Carl Jung himself. Jung revealed in his private writings that his own psychological theories emerged from surviving what he called psychological persecution by authority figures who tried to manipulate his empathic nature. Jung wrote, "My tormentors unknowingly became my greatest teachers, forcing me to develop the psychological tools that would become my life's work." Jung achieved sovereign empathy by refusing to become bitter, by studying his tormentors as psychological specimens rather than personal enemies, and by transforming his insights into service for others. His method became the template for empathic integration. Success pattern. Historically documented cases. Jung documented several patients who achieved similar integration. 1. A composer who survived an abusive marriage channeled her trauma into music that Jung described as archetypal, speaking directly to the collective unconscious. Another, a physician, developed unprecedented diagnostic abilities after surviving psychological manipulation by colleagues. The common thread Jung identified was their ability to see their abuse as initiation rather than victimization. They understood their experience as preparation for a larger purpose rather than random cruelty. Failure pattern. The gifted who didn't integrate. Jung also studied historical empaths who were destroyed by their sensitivity. He noted they typically fell into one of two traps. Either they remained identified as victims, using their trauma as their primary identity, or they became what Jung called wounded wounders, using their psychological insights to manipulate and control others. Jung wrote, "The difference between the sovereign empath and the destroyed empath is not the severity of their trauma, but their willingness to transform poison." The failure pattern always involved what Jung called shadow rejection, refusing to acknowledge their own capacity for the very behaviors that had wounded them. Jung recognized that sovereign empaths needed entirely different types of relationships than typical empaths. He developed what he called consciousness compatibility theory to help them find authentic connections. Recognition signals. Jung identified Other evolved empaths could be recognized by their ability to discuss psychology without becoming defensive, their comfort with paradox and contradiction, their lack of need to be right or superior, and what Jung called archetypal humor, the ability to find lightness in the darkest human patterns. Safe relationship. Characteristics. Jung noted that healthy relationships for sovereign empaths involved mutual respect for psychological boundaries, comfortable silence without need to fill space with chatter, ability to discuss shadow aspects without judgment, and what Jung termed conscious intimacy, connection based on authentic self-revelation rather than projection. Community-building strategies. Jung recommended that sovereign empaths seek others who had undergone similar transformative experiences, not necessarily narcissistic abuse, but any experience that forced rapid psychological evolution. He noted that trauma survivors, spiritual seekers who had faced their shadow, and individuals who had survived major life transitions often made compatible companions. Jung warned against trying to maintain relationships with unconscious individuals out of guilt or obligation. The butterfly cannot pretend to still be a caterpillar, he wrote. Attempting to do so serves no one and dishonors the transformation. He also recommended what he called archetypal service, using their evolved empathic abilities to serve the collective unconscious through teaching, healing, creating, or simply modeling integrated consciousness. Jung documented that the transformation from wounded empath to sovereign empath follows what he called the 5 metamorphoses, each marked by specific psychological shifts and challenges. Metamorphosis. 1. The dissolution. This occurs during active abuse, when the empath gets into compassion for the unconscious, he wrote. The maintenance practice Jung recommended was what he called daily shadow check-ins, regularly examining their motivations, projections, and emotional reactions to ensure they remained conscious of their psychological processes. Jung's final insight about sovereign empaths was perhaps his most profound. He believed they represented an evolutionary leap in human consciousness, essential for humanity's psychological development. The sovereign empath, Jung wrote, has become what I believe represents the next stage of human evolution. Individuals capable of feeling the full spectrum of human experience, while remaining centered in their own truth. They are the bridge between ego consciousness and self-realization. Jung believed that as humanity faced increasing psychological complexity, these evolved empaths would serve as consciousness midwives, helping others navigate their own shadow integration and empathic development. He saw them as essential for healing the collective trauma that humanity carries. Their suffering was not personal, Jung concluded, but archetypal. They have endured the collective human experience of abuse and emerged with the medicine our species needs for its next evolutionary step. The empath who survives narcissistic abuse and reaches Jung's final stage has undergone what he called the ultimate individuation, becoming fully themselves while serving something larger than themselves. Jung's most dangerous discovery revealed that the deepest wounds, when properly integrated, become humanity's greatest gifts. The sovereign empath stands as proof that consciousness can emerge from catastrophe, that wisdom can be forged from suffering, and that the very experiences that seem designed to destroy us may actually be designed to transform us. As Jung wrote in his final notes on this phenomenon, the narcissist, unknowingly, serves as the dark priest of the empath's initiation. Through their cruelty, they forge the very consciousness that will ultimately heal what they represent. Your journey through narcissistic abuse, if you allow it, can become your initiation into sovereign empathy, not despite your suffering, but because of it. Your transformation serves not just your healing, but humanity's evolution. Thanks for watching. See you in the next dimension.
Wow, I feel like a lot of us can relate to that. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. That's all we have for today's video. If you made it this far, the code word is Empath, E-M-P-A-T-H. When you drop that in the comments, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. And I just want to thank you guys for your support. It means the world to me. I love you guys. Hang in there. This was the most disturbing videos on the internet today. See you tomorrow.